Yeah, hold it. Ready to go. Welcome everybody in YouTube land. All right, let's go, Pat. And don't forget to talk into the microphone directly. Hey, and welcome everybody to The Watch. I'm the sidekick with the main kick. Eric Woodson, Joe Poland. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. The 15th of the month, 15th of November of the year of our Lord 2017. Eric, how you doing, man?
I am doing absolutely wonderful today. Loving the weather. Slept so good last night. You know, didn't turn the heat on. I don't know how about everybody else, but I like a cold house.
Yeah, we do too.
You know, pile the blankets on. And just
You can't beat that.
can't beat it. Can't. And I think there's a study that says you actually sleep better. So I'm going to try and get. What are your thoughts about this past week or whatever, Joe?
Well, you know, it's been an interesting week that we've had because I think there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, that are coming out there and are realizing that we have some issues, and I think that those issues are starting to be addressed, and I think we're moving forward.
Well, did you? Well, I want to get to that. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. I guess I was going to go with something else, but since you brought that up, let's talk about the issues being addressed, folks. I had a totally different train of thought that I was going with, so we're going to have to get another azimuth here and go in a different direction. But this week, you know, we've had some more shootings and people have been murdered, and you know, we had a 16-year-old supposedly is claiming self-defense in that down in that area off Young Avenue, and I don't know all the details. I wasn't in court, but it's a bad area, and we talked about that in the past about how bad that area is and how much activity of drugs and prostitution is going on just down there, just a block or two off of Veterans Parkway, not too far away from Manchester Expressway. And in speaking of Manchester, you know, you had that guy murdered down there within, you know, probably after that time period that we talked about it. So my point being, what I'm getting to is for the people in Columbus, your esteemed mayor, the Queen Mayor, you know, got on WRBL again, and in a long-winded fashion, basically poo-pooed any negative comments or points that are being brought up by people, is saying stuff like, and if you go back, the interview is still, I'm pretty sure, still up on WRBL. I'm pretty sure it was WRBL that did the interview.
It was.
And it was, you know, pretty self-centering, you know, really no hard questions asked. But basically, here was the gist. If you watched the full interview, which was like something between 13 minutes, something around there, 13 to 15 minutes. And I'm not talking about the edited version that was for the little news show that came on. It was just, you know, real brief. But in a nutshell, you know, the mayor talking about the crime and what was being done about it. And what did she really have to say to the people of Columbus? You know, if you're some of these people on social media who don't agree with her or making comments that are not supportive of her ideas, whatever those ideas may be, you are basically unhelpful, unproductive. You are a finger-pointing naysayer, and you're not getting anything accomplished, okay? Well, how many people that just heard what I said agree with that, okay? Where does the mayor get off telling everybody that doesn't agree with her, that has a different opinion from her? When did you become a naysayer, unproductive, unhelpful? But yet, what was the name of the program that was part of that story? Was it Conversations Around the Table or Table Conversations?
Yeah, something to that effect.
Okay. So you had a group of citizens in the area that across Columbus at different locations and stuff had little table discussions and you discussed stuff, okay? Now, if there was negative comments brought up around, that the mayor's not doing enough or the mayor's not doing anything, or basically the mayor's not owning up to the problem that there is a crime problem in the area, that people are dying, did anybody stand up around your table and call you a naysayer or unproductive or unhelpful? I bet they didn't. But here's the problem with the one problem that I see with this movement of citizens. Okay, so you're basically sitting around tables and you're bringing up these, and I heard all these wild, the problems in Columbus was about dating and some other stuff. Is dating really that big an issue that the mayor needs to worry about it? That, back in my day, when I worried about dating and stuff, I might have changed my location or something to a night spot or a different night spot or whatever, okay? But I didn't go tell the mayor that I couldn't find a girlfriend or future wife or something like that, future fiance. We just kept looking. So I think that drugs and gangs and crime are 100 times more important that should be considered by the citizens, than the mayor doesn't want to admit it. She doesn't want to take responsibility for her deflecting or denying that there's a problem, okay? I have never said that I hold the mayor responsible for the crime, okay? She is not out there committing the crime. I'm holding the mayor responsible, and I think other citizens are holding the mayor for deflecting and sidestepping the questions and trying to shame people into not talking about it by saying you're unproductive, you're unhelpful, you're a naysayer, you're a finger pointer. Well, if you're going to stand over there, Mrs. Mayor, and be in the process of running for a higher office either in Atlanta or Washington, D.C., and making trips, and you spend so much time up at Sweetbriar College and talk about Sweetbriar College like it does something for the people here in Columbus, okay, and that's your priority, or appearing in your little photo ops with all your political people here around the area, which I might bring up, Joe, that I think there's one political person here in Georgia from this area that the mayor probably won't be taking a whole lot of pictures with anymore because he just made the news in a negative fashion. So if you're going to tell the people, if you're going to tell the people that there's no problem, then you get the negative comments. You get to take ownership of what you're saying and wear it proudly. There is no problem in Columbus. There's no problem in Columbus. That's what you're saying, Mayor. There's no gang problem. There's no drug problem. There's no people, we're not having one of the highest years ever.
Ever. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Laura. Hello,
so what do you think, Joe? Do you think there's any
I think that's,
truth to what I'm saying?
I think that's what the issue is out there is that we are asking questions that are not being answered. Matter of fact, we're being deflected because the answer might be something that's uncomfortable. Look, we've got great people in the Chattahoochee Valley. We've got a lot of great people, and we can deal. We're adults. We can deal with our problems. What we can't deal with is denial and deflection because somebody is out looking for their political agenda on that to make themselves not look bad or anything like that. Well, you know what? I always say this out there. You can't urinate on my back and tell me it's raining. Okay? It's just not going to happen. And so what my point is out there is that what we're saying out there right now is what is being done. We want to know, not some little burst of criminals being arrested and some very highly publicized street arrests. That's all great. That's all well and good. But you know what? They're not the administration. And again, I'm going to point here in Columbus. I'm not going to point to the mayor. I'm going to point to the council. The council, the 10 members of the council, are the governing body of this community. And the mayor doesn't even get a vote. unless it's a 50-50 split tie. And the council decides the budget. I still have an unanswered question, and I know that you're watching, elected officials, right now. And you know what? If we have to, we'll come to the council meetings. We'll come to the forums up there and ask this question. Why is it that 3 or 4 years ago, we had a loss of local option sales tax, and that 70% of that was earmarked to go directly to public safety? Where is that money? I'm going to tell you, Eric, you know what? And I've asked this. I'm, a reasonably intelligent person, and I've been looking into this. And I'll tell you what I've been asked. And I've asked the question, I'll tell you what I've been told. I've been told everything from, oh, well, it's in the general fund, and we put it in there because and they may do this, because we move it around week to week and month to month, which is, people do that. The city government does it to get the best interest rate on short interest. I don't know. I want to know what is being done with it. Is that what's being done with it? Was it raised so that the city can make money off of that? Because that would be a lie. L-I-E. That would be a lie. That would be a con job by the city council of Columbus, Georgia, that said that money, and told the public and assured the public that 70% of it would go to public safety. Now, you know what? In 3 years, that's in the millions and millions and millions of dollars. Where is that money, and how? It's a two-part question. How is that money being spent? Is it being spent? I don't think it is. We're being told that we can't pay our officers a higher salary. We're cutting their benefits. We can't repair units that are laid up because we can't pay for parts. We've got the city manager saying that, he's suggesting we go to electric cars because gas costs are so high, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where is this money being spent? You know what the answer is? It's not being spent. It's not being spent. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of, the answer I get every time we look at that. It's like this $97,000 new logo branding sign. Every time that we ask it, you know what? It's like a standard line. It's like when you, I do not recall that answer, Your Honor. It's a standard line we get. You know what it is every time? Well, those funds were provided by private individuals and private corporations. Well, guess what? I got news for you, city government. It doesn't matter who gave those funds. Once those funds were given to the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Columbus, whoever, a governmental body, then it's ours. It's the people's, and you have been entrusted by the people to spend those funds responsibly. Now, don't come again up to me and say, well, it's okay. We spent $97,000 on this rip-off sign that this charlatan company that put together. That I don't even know what their name is, but I know it's an out-of-state company. I do know that they did thank you, Frank Myers. Frank Myers did a little bit of investigation, found out that they did a logo, brand, whatever you call it, for Macon 2 years ago. And if you go to the Concerned Citizen site on Facebook, you'll see they're almost identical. I mean, they're almost identical. I think the ones it says Macon, we got sold.
Well, somebody did one for free. I think it's on the watch page today. It's a free one, and it's got the Columbus backdrop in it, and it's actually quite humorous and better than one that I posted about a week or two ago.
80.
So
but there's no accountability. That's the bottom line. Is that, do we know what city people are being paid? Do we know what? And let me ask you something. Why do you think a lot of these counselors have been in office for 20 years? Because, you know what? They go, oh, why would they want to do that, Eric? Because they get a very low salary. And guess what they do get? They get benefits. They get health care benefits.
Is that like friends with benefits?
They get in a way. They get benefits. They get health care, insurance benefits. And that's why they do it. They want to stand in because they don't have to pick them up at work and they don't have to pay for them. And so, but what I'm just saying is I'm tired of the people that are the people in charge that are not being held accountable. Paul also used to go down there to, like people used to joke about Paul, because Paul also used to go down there and constantly ask for accountability. And, people said, oh, that's just ridiculous. Well, you know what, I wish Paul, I wish you were back. I wish you go down there every Tuesday like you used to do, and go down there and try to get these people to answer about accountability. Because, it's just like, with this sign thing that came out. And, why don't we bring up the sign on the watch? We'll bring up the sign on the watch because we're having the mayor and the council tell us that we don't have money for public safety. Sorry, we can't hire. We're out of money. We're broke. Yet we've got $100 grand, $97,000 to buy a stupid sign right now. You know what? And then they come back and say, oh, but you see that stupid sign, Joe, there's been a year of work and research put into that. That's a bunch of hooey. That's a bunch of hooey.
Well, Joe, it's like everybody that sees the sign, the first thing they say
Greg
is,
Countryman, how are you, sir?
did a 6-year-old get a sign?
A fingerprint?
Yeah, well, I mean, did a 6-year-old get assigned to do the project? You know, nobody. I hardly see anybody that doesn't have ties to the city saying anything positive about that sign. They say it looks ridiculous, that the grammar doesn't make any sense.
You know what, really, you know what, and you know what I think, Eric, and everybody out there, I think we're finally getting under their skin. You know why? Because more and more we are hearing about people that call these city councilors and these elected officials going like, well, I don't like what you said on social media. Well, too bad. Wah. Too bad that you don't like it. If it's the kitchen's too hot, then get out.
Maybe we could, I mean, really, now I do know that we got the attention of one of the councilwomen that was a little upset with one of my posts on what my version of the logo was supposed to look like.
I'm sorry, this calls for sarcasm right now. So do you mean that after we finally put a logo up that embarrassed somebody or something like that about the city of Columbus, we finally got a counselor to make a comment about crime in Columbus?
Yeah, I think we did.
Wow, we had to go to that way.
And the point of this all is well, I've got a couple different points, but my thing is, if the mayor is going to get on TV and try and shame people by telling them that they're unhelpful, unproductive, they're finger-pointing naysayers on social media, you know what, people? Keep doing it. Tell your friends about it. Get your friends on social media and start expressing your opinions and your voices, okay? Because here's the bottom line. Whether whether you're a business person or not, okay? The mayor is on her final leg of the journey of the race, okay?
She's on her way out.
She's on her way out. So she can say whatever she wants to say, okay? And Mrs. Mayor, I was down at the Veterans Day parade with my kids the other day, and it was all I could do to keep my big mouth shut and not yell something, unproductive or unhelpful as you went by. But I managed to do it somehow. I don't know how, but I did. But that is what it is. But folks, in these day and times, when the media is telling you what to think, and I'm going to talk about this later, and they're trying to shape your thoughts and influence how you see something, and if you don't believe that the media has an agenda, okay, then you really need to step back away from social media and start looking at some of these stories and stuff.
Yeah,
because you are being led down the garden path. Okay?
Now, let me help everybody out there a lot. Also too, people worry. We always hear about, oh, you better be careful what you say on social media. Let me tell you something. We have a thing called the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States that guarantees freedom of speech. And you know what? And let me tell you something. So what about being sued? Well, in Georgia, we have defamation of character and slander. Well, let me tell you what that is. First of all, defamation of character and slander is, in order for somebody to take a suit out against you and charge you with defamation of your character or slander against them, what you've got to be saying has to be a lie. It has to be proven that it's not true. Okay, so if it's true, I don't care how bad it is about you on that, then that's not defamation of character and slander. And the defamation of character and slander, even if it is true on that, it has to directly affect your employment or your livelihood on that. And the thing is, this is social media. The liberal left draws the Constitution out like it's a sword. Well, you know what? We have the right to our First Amendment rights for freedom of speech. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. When you're a politician, I've been doing political consulting for 30 years. One of the first things I tell a potential candidate that says, hey, I'm thinking about it, I'll say, well, let me tell you something. You better not have thin skin. You better not have thin skin. And you better realize that any skeleton in your closet, anything there, is fair game. you know, and that's it's you know your family life, your home life. You know, you can't just say that's somebody's business because you're a public official.
Right.
That there's a good you know there's a double-edged sword.
Well, you know, I don't want to go into this too deeply, but there is a gentleman that's running. There's a gentleman that's running for city council, and apparently he posted some videos that were kind of offended some people in the community, and they spoke out about it. And I guess you know this was not on the watch. This was on our friends' pages. Everybody's heard about the Concern Columbus, Georgia page, which you know is about speaking out, and they're a growing page, and they're doing well. I think they just hit their 1 year mark, and they're doing real good. So check out the Concerned Georgia's. It's either Concerned Georgia, Columbus, Georgia. Anyway, I'm screwing it up, but it's one of those two things: Concerned Georgia or Concerned Columbus, Georgia page. But he took some heat for showing some type of activity at a local restaurant or bar or something where he said, you know, this is my lifestyle or whatever, or this is what I'm into. And some people basically pushed back and said, look, we're not interested in, this is not, you know, we're not interested in seeing this. Okay, if you want to do that in private or whatever, or that's the way you have fun. So I don't know, you know, social media is social media. If you're going to put yourself out there, be prepared for negative comments.
You know, also too,
you got to have thin skin. Thick skin.
Nobody stands with a 45 in your head going, you got to watch that. You know, on that, you know, you got to go to that site. You got to take your little finger and you got to type in what you want to see. You know, on that. It's not like you turn on your phone or your computer and it says, well, we're now going to show you an expose on this, that, and the other thing. Hello, Chris. How are you? Good afternoon, Carol. Good afternoon, Roger. You know, getting back to that, but let me tell you something. This is it. I'm going to tell you something. That what the administration is trying to do is they're trying to intimidate you. We are the people. We are the government. They work for us. We elect them. And you know what? What's come high time in this community, in the Chattahoochee Valley, is for us to tell our elected officials, we got a crime problem, and you know what? Utilize the people we have to address this, and if they can't do it, fire them and hire somebody else. You know, and because it's like, oh well, they're doing the best they can, and our law enforcement is doing the best they can. Our law enforcement does a great job. Our law enforcement is hampered by the administration because they're not given the resources that they need. Hey, everybody, it costs money. You know, it costs money. It's just like, you know, going to the hospital or something like that. You know, if we want to have a quality department, we've got quality people. They've got to have the equipment that they need, the technology, and the technology is there. We got several hundred cameras out there in the city of Columbus. You know, the FBI has said, has come out and said there is an 80% chance that a perpetrator that is caught on film, on video surveillance, will be captured within 72 hours of that. We've got several hundred high-tech, high-definition surveillance cameras all on our major streets and everywhere that are never even been hooked up. Have you seen them with the little cords where they're all, you know, the little cords all hooked up? Because it's never been connected to anything. Now, you know what? If I'm saying that it's not right, and I know there's some people out there going, wait a minute now, Joe, those are DOT cameras. No, they're not. There are some DOT cameras out there. I will call the city engineer. Don't believe me. Call the city engineer of Columbus and ask about those cameras. And they will tell you that we got a DOT grant. There are hundreds of them. Matter of fact, you know what the city engineer will tell you? And I appreciate her honesty. And I really do. She'll say, I don't even really know how many there are. And I'll say, well, was there 10, 20? Well, there's at least hundreds. They've never been connected. Ever. And why? Well, because we had a person a couple of years ago. This is a quote. We had a paraphrase here. Now, we had a person several years ago that did this kind of stuff, but the budget cuts, they were gone. I don't even know how many years were out there. Well, why aren't they hooked up? Well, Georgia Power wanted to charge us to hook them up to the power lines. We couldn't afford that. And then if we could afford that, we didn't have anywhere to monitor them, and we didn't have any people. So what I'm saying is, We need to tell these people. Why is, they're saying, well, what can we do? We got tons of stuff. Talking about building a new government center. Talking about spending $97,000 on these garbage signs. Spending $700,000 on crime prevention grants. Spend the money where we need to spend it. Now, we are in a war right now, and we have to fight that war, or we're going to lose that war.
Peggy just said that, I think it was Peggy Battles just said a few minutes ago, or a minute ago or so.
Oh, Tom. Rob.
She said that, social media, people are responsible for what they say on social media or what they do on social media. And I kind of agree with that. The lady that was out there at the motorcade, for the presidential motorcade, whatever it was, months ago or whatever, decided she was going to flip off the president of the United States. And then she got fired by her corporation. Corporation or company fired her. And now, everybody's all up in arms. Well, she was on her own time and stuff. Well, I hate to tell you, the corporations today are looking at your social media. If you say something or you do something that is detrimental, that they think the image of your company is, they're going to can you, and you can say, I'm going to sue, or I'm going to start a GoFundMe page, people aren't going to give you money forever, okay? I think the lady's got $97,000 or something that people have donated across the country. That's fine, but $97,000 isn't going to do you for the rest of your life. You're going to have to go out and get another job, and if you feel that your freedom of speech is that important, that that you want to make a stand, or what I call an exit speech, go ahead, make your speech, stand up and be counted. But when that company says, we don't need you working for us anymore, don't cry to everybody out there in social media land and say, oh, look what they did to me. They're violating my freedom of speech, okay? Companies in most states have a right to hire and fire,
in Georgia. But I want to tell you something, though. Here's where we're making a mistake. How many times have you out there heard this when, we've had a nativity scene, or we've had some issue about people's right to speech, when they come down and they say, oh, the Freedom of Religion Foundation is going to sue us. We're afraid we're going to get a suit, so we've got to settle. We're going to, they're going to sue us in the school district. Well, you know what? We got to turn around and say, come on, baby, sue us. We'll sue you.
Joe,
we'll
the thing in Smith Station, you haven't heard one more word about it. They made their threats. The school board kind of caved in, and the students did what they did, and they prayed during the games and stuff. But it's gone away. There was no suit filed or anything like that, and those people have gone away, and they're looking for something else that they can nitpick about. I'm sure they pick their battles to where they think they can find the weakest link, and that people will get all scared and stuff. And
Eric, I'll tell you something interesting. You know what? Back when, does everybody remember about 5-6 years ago, we have we have a cross out at Heath Lake Park, which is made of stones. It's put out at Heath Lake Park, and it's next to a memorial for a fighter pilot that was shot down and killed during the Vietnam War. And our current administration mayor decided that that was on public property and demanded to be out there. And we went almost 50 of us went to council, and we said, why? She said, well, we're getting a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation atheist group, and they're threatening to sue us, and we can't handle that. We can't do that. We can't. And we said, and you know what we did? We said, all right, we'll bring them on. We'll pay for our own legal. We'll pay for it. We have lawyers that have volunteered their time that said that they will defend this issue. So that took that wind out of that sail. And then you know what? We were on the radio. Hi, Lisa. How are you? And I'm going to tell you something. You know what we did? I probably a dozen times. At that time, we were actually, I had a radio air show. By the way, in January, we're going to be having an actual show on the radio, too, that's going to be added to this. But I'm going to tell you what happened. Is Eric, about a dozen times, you know what I did? I called the guy who signed the letter from Freedom from Religion Foundation on the phone. I called him, and I'd always get, I say, hey, this is Joe Coley down here from the Rangers Got a Country Show. We're in Columbus, Georgia, where you're all threatening to sue our city government. I'd like to talk to Andrew, who's their attorney, on that. And guess what? I could never get Andrew to talk to us. I said, hey, would you tell Andrew that we'll pay for him? We'll pay to fly him down here and give him a hotel room, make sure he's well protected, and got great food. We'll pay for all it. So he can come down here and come on the show, and we'll have a debate about this. We can come down there and guess what? Never showed up. We were let back up, so I said, come on, let's go. Come, bring your people down here. You know why? Because they're charlatans. They know that they'll lose in court. You know, how many of these court cases have you seen that actually went to court on that? Because you know what? The whole bottom line is it's M-O-N-E-Y. Just like, Mickey Mouse. M-O-N-E-Y, money. That they are gambling on bluffing us that like it'll cost you a lot of money, tons of money to defend yourself. And even if you win, it will bankrupt you on that.
Joe, I just had a thought. You were just the Mickey Mouse song, M-I-C-K-E-Y, M-O-U-S-E, and then
T-O-M.
I mean, for some reason, I get a picture of the mayor with little mouse ears on singing that song. I'm sorry. That's I guess I'll get sued for that one, or I'll burn. Anyway, look, Joe, I want to transition to something. I mean, we mentioned the media earlier, folks, so we're going to transition to a new idea. It has a little bit to do with the media and basically social media. But I want you to stop for a minute, and I want you to think. I don't know how old everybody is out there listening to me, all right? But I was born in the 1960s, okay? So I was a teenager in the 1970s. And I want you to think back 38 to 40 years. Let's say 40 years ago, okay? Back to the 1970s. Take yourself back to 1970 and think about this. We did not have cell phones. Cell phones in the 1970s did not exist, okay? Or if they did, they were as big as a briefcase, and only the government people walked around with them, okay? There might have been some car phones coming out, okay? But only, like Magnum PI had those things. So we're in the 1970s. The media is having you judge by today's standards, taking today's standards back to the 1970s, and you can't do that, okay, especially in the South. 2017 is not the same as 1975 to 79 or whatever you want to talk about, okay? And what I'm trying to say is think about your telephone. The telephone at your house, okay, was probably a plug-in phone. It could have been rotary. It might have been, punch button or whatever, okay. But if somebody called you, it was at your home, okay. It was at your home. So if someone was calling to date you, guess who was picking up the phone? It was probably your mother or your father that was answering that phone, okay. Because guess what? If you were a teenager or something, you were in school. So nobody was calling you during the day. They would have called you at night when people were home from work and having dinner and sitting around and watching TV and stuff. And so I want you to think about that. Okay? Phones were, your mother and dad were answering the phone back then. So if somebody called for you to date you, they had to first talk to your parents, all right, and get past your parents. Oh, hello, this is little Johnny, is little Susie there? Is little Jenny there? I'd like to speak to her. Well, who is this? Oh, it's you. Okay. Well, I guess you can talk to her, or I guess you can't talk to her. Okay? So just think about that in the context of 40 years ago, somebody calling your house. Okay? And the fact that if you were dating somebody, most families had an idea if you were going out with somebody or who was coming to see you at your home or asking to speak to you, okay? I just want you to roll that over in your head. It's going to come clear here in a minute. Now, I want you to think about when you were in high school and your yearbook. When did you get your yearbook? Did you get your yearbook in the middle of the year? Do you remember having your yearbook around Christmas and running around and asking people to sign your yearbook in December? When did we get our yearbooks? We got them in the spring, generally before the end of the year and when you were graduating. Is that not how it was? Because that's the way I remember it. You got your yearbook after, the winter season, okay? Not around Christmas. But maybe there's that one school in Alabama that did it different. Okay.
Okay.
And then if you had your yearbook,
Well, I was going to call.
and you took it to a place of business where you worked in a restaurant or something, and you put it on the lunch counter, for what reason? So people could look at it, or you were trying to get people to sign it. And then if you did have someone sign your yearbook, for whatever reason, because you put it on the lunch counter and you either wanted people looking at it or you wanted people signing it, 40 years later, use that as evidence. Oh, look, he signed my yearbook. Okay? So that's just something I want you to think about. And then 40 years later, if you're alleging that someone did something inappropriate or totally wrong, I want you to go back and look at an interview or something that's probably still on social media. You can still find it out there. If something happened to you that was traumatic, why would you have to have a script and have your head down and read line for line? And then he did this, and then he did that. Then he said this, and then he said that. And I was this, and then this happened. And then the sky fell, and then the lightning struck, and then this, and this, and this, okay? Folks, you can take that story for whatever you want, and if you haven't figured it out yet, yes, I am talking about the Roy Moore story. We were talking about 40 years ago when attitudes were different, when life was different in small town Alabama, and things are not the same today as they were 40 years ago. There are different attitudes, there's different ways of looking at stuff. Am I condoning an adult doing something inappropriate with a teenager? No, I'm not. Okay? But we are not getting the entire story, and the problem that I have with this story is here locally, the media is only posting the most negative of negative on the hour, on the half hour, everything that they can post that is negative. And where am I getting at? I'm getting at, this is the big picture. They are trying to shape your idea of how something happened, but they're not giving you the entire picture. You have to look at the entire picture. Okay, not that a 30-year-old was speaking to a 14-year-old, or supposedly there are people now saying that she was older than 14, okay? The fact that someone signs a yearbook, okay, and that in itself is damning. Oh, well, you know what? I had yearbooks in my school. None of the guys went running around to other guys. We didn't have anybody signing our yearbooks. I could care less about having a signature in my yearbook, all right? So just because there's a signature doesn't mean anything happened, all right? But I'm saying look at the big picture, okay? Do the things make sense? And to me, in my family, my father or my mother, I don't care who you were. You could be a 4-star general or something. If you'd have done something inappropriate and my parents found out about it, they weren't going to be quiet for 38 years. They wouldn't have been quiet for 38 seconds, okay? If something happens to me, I don't need to write a script and read it word line for line, okay, in an interview. I could look up and I could tell you what happened. I can speak like I'm speaking right now. I'm not reading from a script. I'm talking to you on social media. I don't need to have a script, okay, to give you my thoughts about what happened about something. And I want you to go back and think about that telephone thing, okay? If people are calling your house 40 years ago, they're not calling directly to a cell phone. They're calling to a landline, okay, that's in your kitchen or on your coffee table or something in the living room, and your parents are answering the phone. Some of this stuff does not make sense. It does not make sense to me to wait 38 years. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think the Democrats are doing this. I think it's the Republicans. The Republicans are trying to, his own party is trying to torpedo him to keep him from going up there, because that's how scared they are of him. All right. Here locally, the media is telling you we have another political figure that's been accused. But you know what? There's no hourly hoopla about that man. People are saying, "Well, I know him. I don't believe this. This is not true." Okay. Well, how can you say it about one politician But over in Alabama, you can say, he's being hung because people don't want him in Washington. Okay, they don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. They don't want to see the evidence, which I would love to see the evidence. I keep hearing about all this evidence about Roy Moore. He was banned from the mall. He was banned from the YMCA. Well, I haven't seen one piece of information anywhere, a police report or anything, that says anything he had a band or this or that. It's a bunch of hearsay from 38 years ago. Okay, if somebody tells you something that you're not a first party to, then it's hearsay. Okay, it's not. You can't get it into court. The only court that you can get it into is the court of social media. I believe him. I don't believe him. He's guilty. I know he's guilty. I've never met him in my life, but I don't like his face. He's a Republican, and he's guilty. He needs to drop out. Well, I don't think the man's going to drop out. I think he's going to stick to his guns like he always has, and they're just going to have to hope that a truck hits him or something that's crossing the road or something. But that's just my thought. My thought is, am I here, was all that to defend Roy Moore? No, I'm just giving you stuff to think about. What I want you to think about is how locally the media has already hung the man. I mean, they're not sending reporters down to talk to anybody. There's no investigative reporting. It's being regurgitated. And I want to give you one more thought, Joe, and the people out there. People are saying, well, this has been common knowledge. This has been common knowledge. Okay, where are all the reporters in the state of Alabama, in Birmingham, in Huntsville, in Tuskegee, in Mobile, not Tuskegee, I meant to say Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Mobile, Huntsville, Mobile, all the other big cities and stuff that have newspapers. Right here in Columbus, if it was common knowledge, why hasn't anybody ever wrote a story about anything? Okay, but you're telling me that the Washington Post up in Washington, D.C., which is like, 14, 15 hours away, depending on how you drive, they just came down to Alabama one day and boom, here's the story. Okay, but nobody in Alabama is smart enough to do an investigative story about it. Okay, but the Washington Post just broke it about a month before the election. Does that even begin to pass the smell test? Okay.
Well, also too, one of the things we're trying to do in what we're talking about right now is to, again, for people to recognize that, we have to ask and this is one of the reasons that we got into the media business, is you've got to ask what has happened to the media business. The media business has become, in most states and in most situations, an entertainment racket, and it's been a source for people to manipulate the public. And, the bottom line about that is this, it's just look at, here we are, Columbus, Georgia, we're the second largest city in the state of Georgia. And we have a newspaper that's a joke. What do we call it? The 12th Street Rag on that? I've been here all my life. And at one time, the Ledger Enquirer was an award-winning newspaper. With Charlie Black during the Vietnam War, did a series on there. I think he got an international writing award for that. Maybe a Pulitzer. Somebody helped me out on that. We had award-winning columnists, and we still have a few around today. But, we have a newspaper that's, I think it's printed in Montgomery. It's owned by people in Florida. It looks like it looks like a brochure almost. And the only thing that keeps it going, and I've been told this by the people that run the paper, the only thing that pays the bills are the legal notices. Go in there and look at it, and you'll see out of 5 or 6 pages, 3 pages are legal notices, which are required by law. The people have to put them in there, when they're suing somebody or they're foreclosing or those kind of things like that. So, that's what they charge through the teeth on that. So that's what keeps it going. But, we don't even have, they don't have full-time staff there. They have basically everybody there except the absolute senior people are part-time reporters. We have a lot of, thank you, David, a lot of fake news that comes out. And it's just ridiculous. Think about that right now. And thank you, David. Thanks for bringing that up. Right now, one of the biggest things out there that we hear about is fake news. What the heck is fake news? I don't know what it is because we've had fake news for 100 years when people go out. It's all how you ask the question, and what the situation is that we have crimes and things that go on the weekend. And it's Tuesday or Wednesday before the Ledger Enquirer gets around putting them in the paper because they have staff that doesn't come in until Monday afternoon. and then they've got to get it to have an editorial meeting with the editors on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then get stuff improved on that. So what we're trying to, all the watch has ever tried to do, and all we're ever going to try to do is ask questions and provide the truth. And the truth hurts sometimes. And the truth is, but that's what makes us stronger, is when we recognize what our faults are.
Yeah. Well, I want to make the point, and I want to make this clear. I want to say this slowly. I'm not trying to make you believe Roy Moore or disbelieve Roy Moore. I'm just asking you to look at the facts and make a decision on yourself and think about what some of the stuff I said about the telephones and the yearbooks and who gets a yearbook in December and runs around with it. Okay, I'm just asking you to think for yourself. Do not let the media tell you what to believe.
And ask yourself some fair questions. This is like, and like I said, I'm not even in Alabama. I'm in Georgia. I'm not for the election. But I have a question. There's an old saying, Eric, you heard it, what's good for the goose is good for the gander on that. Well, have we looked into what the alleged victim has been doing for the last 40 years? What about their reputation? Have we heard anything about that?
If you even go there, then you anger some people, or I'll say some women, because you're victim shaming.
Okay, stuff. Well, you know what? Let me show you what. Let me show you. Then really, what's happening is this: if you get down to bottom line, and this is what we're talking about. We're talking about Roy Moore. We're talking about the truth. And if Roy Moore is guilty of something, that will come to pass on that. If he's not guilty, that will come to pass too. But let me tell you something. What we basically have is we have somebody for 40 years saying, this happened. Well, you know what? Right now, I don't know anything about the credibility of that person. I don't know anything about the person. So I have as much credibility as that person, right? On that, because we know nothing about anyone, right? Well, I don't think Roy Moore didn't do that. Okay, so and that's about as and do I know that? No, but I can say that. Again, this is not a defense of Roy Moore, but I'm just saying, let's look. Folks, the country allowed Bill Clinton to serve 2 terms, and there was the Monica Lewinsky thing. Everybody knows you would have to be brain dead to figure out all the women that came forward against him. And what did we do? The Hillary Clinton machine told you that all those women were liars and gold diggers, and they couldn't be, and they tried to trash them and everything. And then the Monica Lewinsky thing came out, they tried the same thing with Trump, with the videotape of what he said on a bus, which people say that's horrible, this locker room talk, I'm going to go on. I was in the military for 20 years, and I'm going to be honest with you. There was a lot of locker room talk in the military. There was. And anybody that says, am I saying it's right? Am I saying that it was something to be proud of and stuff? But it went on. You talked about your girlfriends, and things were discussed. Females were discussed, and maybe the times are changing, and the attitudes are changing, and it's not right anymore. But I'm telling you that a lot of military guys, you guys in the military know what I'm talking about. There was locker room. I'm just going to say it. There was locker room talk. And what we're saying is this: is we're saying that in any situation, go with fact. An example that is wrong. Go with his record, his political record, what he has actually done. We can verify we've seen, what he talks about, out of his mouth, his value like that. That's a given. That's 100%. And that's a tangible thing. People come in there going like, "Oh, well, I'm alleging." That's exactly what it is. Let me make sure, as Greg said something. In terms of the law, that's an accusation. It's not even an indictment. It's an accusation. Anybody can make an accusation in anybody. But if we're you're not guilty to prove by in a court of law. Yeah. And so it's an accusation. But
I just want to say this. Based on my time in the military, and I made a joke about this a couple days ago with somebody. I didn't put it on the page or anything, but I said, the way things are going, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a couple ladies to jump up and say, "Yeah, that Eric guy, he sexually harassed me back in 1982, at Hooters or something." And you know what? You know, I probably did. I probably did say something like, "Wow, you really got a nice blank," or "You really got a good profile," or something. Was there some flirting going on? You know, you ask any truck driver or any military guy or anything, if you're a guy and you've never gone out on a date or something and flirted or said something kind of, I'll just say rude or something, or pushing by today's standards, you know, if you haven't said something to a female, then
just be careful. You know, I've said this before. One of my favorite things of the internet is I wish I had a picture that I can show you right now. There's a picture of a real picture of Abraham Lincoln. And to the right of it, in larger letters, in quotes, it says something to this effect. I'm paraphrasing. Was very proud that I'm very proud now that towards the end of my administration that I have set the standards for the beginning of what will one day become known as the internet, because I feel that is the future of this country. And then it says, and then Abraham Lincoln, okay, and then and then you go. And you would not believe how people went, Lincoln said that? And then you know what? Then down below, you go about an inch, there's a little tiny writing, and you raise up what it says, just because somebody famous's picture is next to some words, and it says their name on it, doesn't mean they really said that.
Well, absolutely.
But you know, there are people on that. But you know, just getting back, you know, to a couple things too. There's a couple things I wanted to get on today too. Is that just use your common sense and move forward on that. One thing I wanted to bring out. The time is flying as always. Something I noticed this weekend that we haven't talked about.
What's that?
Kind of a little bit of good stuff. You know, FY information. A lot of times, you know, we have that next door neighbor app that I know a lot of you have out there, and we have stuff on the watch and stuff like that. I've noticed a lot of times people will come on and, you know, completely, you know, with great intentions, and they'll come on and they'll say, hey, did anybody hear, you know, what sounded like some gunshots, or did anybody hear, you know, somebody yelling or screaming, or did anybody see that, you know, those people turning on, and, you know, and then, you know, 10 or 15 people will comment on that or something like that. Please, everybody out there, wherever you are, if you hear something suspicious, the first thing you should do on that, or see something suspicious, is call 911 and let them know. I'm a former police officer. I worked in 911 before. They're not going to get mad. They're not going to say, when you answer the phone, they're going to say, Columbus 911 or whatever jurisdiction you're in, what is your emergency? And you're going, oh gosh, that's not emergency, I'm going to get in trouble. They rely on, law enforcement relies on tips, information, anything and everything that can be given to them to verify, coordinate, to validate things. So a lot of people, what they do is they're like, well, you know, I heard that, but I bet you a whole bunch of other people did. I'm not going to call because I'm sure somebody else called. You know, or by now somebody else has already called. And this is the same thing if you're driving down the road and you see some wrecked cars. Well, should I call 911? I'm sure somebody's already called. Do not do that. Call 911 and say, hey, I heard some stuff that sounded like gunshots. This is where I live. And then they'll ask you, they say, would you like us to have an officer come out there? You know, if you will say no. I'd like to have somebody right through the neighborhood, whatever. But we desperately need people to call and let 911 so they can let the officers out on the street know what's going on, because you know, while you know, if you hear some shots being, what sounds like shots being fired over off of Schaumburg Road on that, and the 911 gets that, 911 can call officers in that area. They'll say, you know, I thought I heard something too, and they get it closer and coordinate that. And the other thing about that is that you know, again, don't assume anything. And there is, you know, I repeatedly said this, but I think I need to say it again, is that contrary to what more people think, if there's some slimy scumbag or some nice guy, you know, Ted Bundy looked like a nice guy, you know, kill all people on Florida. If there's a suspicious, let me rephrase, if there's a suspicious looking person or persons near your home or walking around or something like that, okay, on that, call the police. And guess what? They're not going to say, yes, I'd like an officer to come out and check that out. Guess what? The police officer or officers are not going to come back and go like, who called? It's Joe Coley. He lives right over there. That's his house right there.
He lives at 123 Hauser Street.
123 Hauser Street. That's right. That is what. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to say, the officer's going to say, well, that's none of your concern. On that, Miss Patty, you have something?
Debbie says, The more calls they get, the more they know it's a problem.
Exactly.
Well, here's the other thing: the little piece that you're calling in that you think might be minuscule, or that little piece of information
Should be the key to the whole.
could give them something. It could tell them where somebody is, that they might have gotten another call, and that the suspect left the area. And now they know that he's in your area. You know, stuff like, and you do not have to come running out the door with a gun and a flashlight and a big net to say, I'm going to capture them. All you have to do is observe what you know, the description of the car. If you can get a license plate number, a description of the individuals, and pass that on. That's all we're saying. We're not saying you're. Who's the guy down in Florida? The guy that shot Trayvon Martin.
Oh,
Martin, or whatever his name is.
actually, I just want to blank now.
Can anybody remember the
Zimmerman.
guy? Zimmerman's. Yeah, we're not saying be George Zimmerman's, okay? But at the same time,
I like that, Stephen. Yes, it helps establish a timeline.
if at the same time, if someone kicks in your front door, yeah, then by all means be George Zimmerman. Protect your family, protect what you've got. But there's a lot of stuff going on this past week, and I mean, we just didn't write it all down. I guess.
I don't know the name of it. I should, and I should get it. But I'll also tell you, if you go over, and this is not it is an endorsement. It's not a paid endorsement. But if you go over to Shooters on Milton Road, when you walk in the door to the store, there's a very good book they sell there, and I can't think of the name of it. But it's written by an NRA person, and it's a pretty substantial book, and it goes over all of the, of course, handgun and gun licensing requirements and statutes and stuff in the United States, but it also has an extensive section on what's called the castle doctrine. We have the Holmes Castle on on when you shoot, not shoot, and it gives court cases and statutes on that. It's really an interesting book.
Tom was asking when we were getting the media credentials. I think you mentioned it earlier.
They're on the way.
Yeah, they're on the way.
We actually have them already. The parent organization of here, the Chattahoochee Warriors Ministry Center, we have been a media group for 8 years. On that. We hold credentials with the Secretary of State's office, so we're just getting something to wear around our necks and stuff like that. On that, but
yeah.
we are a legal a news media, and we have journalist credentials.
Yeah. Tom also brought up the lady in Troup County, and I haven't heard any more on that. But I know, as of I think it was yesterday, that lady had spent, if I'm not mistaken, that lady had spent at least 2 nights outside. I hope she didn't spend last night outside in the cold. And it just leads me to believe. And here's my thoughts on these missing people. We keep hearing about these tracking dogs and stuff, and I know there are some good dogs out there that can track. I know there's some hunters out there that got some dogs that can track. But I'm telling you, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in these damn police dogs that they say are tracking dogs, okay? Because I just don't remember anybody being caught by a dog that came on the scene, an hour later or something, and they went out and found this guy in the woods or something. So,
what about scout dog?
What I don't understand is when this lady was missing for 24 hours, why volunteers in the community didn't get together and get arm to arm or whatever, shoulder to shoulder, extended arm to extended arm, and go through the woods in every direction until they covered a good area. If that lady is still out there, chances are, what I'm trying to say is it's not going to be good news. I mean, she may be holed up in a barn or something. Or
John says they asked them not to.
Well, I understand that, Tom. They asked them not to because of the dogs. But has the lady been found? Have these dogs found this lady? And I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in that. And I'm just got a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach that this is not going to be a feel-good story here. That they are going to find this lady, but I think something has happened to her.
Well, it gets back to stuff that I don't understand this. Maybe you do, Eric. Both of us are former law enforcement officers, and I don't. I've been a police officer and a deputy sheriff and a federal officer, and I do not understand when any jurisdiction comes out and stuff and says, "Okay, well, we're looking for these suspects," and we go, "Okay, well, what's the description?" Well, we can't provide that. We won't provide that information.
It's
that.
not.
I mean,
It's not available.
That's called stupid. And I've heard this garbage about, well, we don't want people going out there and, seeing somebody in a red truck and pulling guns on them or something like that. Maybe that's exactly what we need, is people to be pulling guns on somebody in a red truck. And they're
I can tell you that there's a lot of people that are now being aware of their surroundings, and they're noticing the vehicles that are supposedly just Sunday driving around their neighborhoods. Or, I mean, it happened to me about a week ago. I was having a little snack in front of the TV. Somebody just pulled in the driveway unannounced, honked the horn once. I didn't come to the door right away, and then somebody came up and knocked on the door. And they said, "Well, that tree out," and I didn't call these people. And believe me, I know my property. Okay, you got a tree out there that looks like it's dead. Would you like us to cut it down? I was like, "Yeah, I know it's dead. It's been dead. No, we're not in any big hurry to have it cut down. And if I need to cut it down, I've got a chainsaw and I'll cut it down." And then they went on to ask about some wood I had stacked up over there near the tree. That is kind of where I split wood over the side of the yard. And they said, "Well, you want to get rid of that wood?" And I was like, "No, it's going to get rid of. I'm going to burn it in the fireplace." In fact, I had a fire the other night, which about ran me out of the house because it was too warm to have a fire. But I cleaned the fireplace out, and I enjoy a good fire, and it really does. The fireplace in my house really does a lot. I can turn the heat completely off, have the living room, the kitchen, and a couple other rooms, comfortable, just based off the fireplace. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with being aware. You're not paranoid. I'm not listening to that stuff anymore. There's too much stuff disappearing on a daily basis. There's cars, there's four-wheelers, there's trailers, there's boats, there's people coming to your house, kicking doors. It's still going on. All you have to do is talk to your neighbors and stuff. It's still happening. There's posts today that one of the police departments has got video of something that was going on. My thing is, let's keep telling the police this. You need to share the information. If you're looking if you don't have somebody within 24 hours and a good lead, you need to share that video. Whether it be from a gas station robbery or shooting or whatever, share the video. Tell people what you're looking for. That's that many more people. And I know the school of thought is, if the police tell you who they're looking for, they're going to run out of the area. Well, good. Put them on the run. Put the monkey on their back. Have them looking over their shoulders. Have them figure out where their next meal is coming from when they're away from home or whatever, or they had to run someplace where they don't have somebody to take care of them. But all those eyes out there on social media looking for a car, stolen car, looking for a bank robber, looking for a child molester, whatever we're looking for. When it's put out into the media and onto social media on these watch pages, that's people. You wouldn't be on a watch page if you didn't want to know what was going on, if you didn't have an interest in this kind of stuff. And being that you're interested and you hear about it, then you're going to be looking for it. Oh, there's the purple Volkswagen that was seen in an area that has an Alabama tag. Maybe I should call that in. Okay, that might be just a little tip. Wasn't it something just real simple? Wasn't it a traffic stop that got Paul Bundy? Not Al Bundy. That's the guy on TV. Ted Bundy. Wasn't it a traffic stop over something like a tail light or a tag light or something?
Yep.
And they stopped, they ran his license, and they figured out that he was wanted in another state.
Okay. He was actually an escapee.
Yeah, and that's how. So your little piece of information could be all that somebody's waiting for.
Well, and one thing too that's critical here is that just realize, Laura says, my husband is an ex-Marine and took the guy, and go actually go back there because a guy stopped her husband, asked for directions, the guy pulled a gun on him. And it was both, her husband's a Marine, from Marine, he fought with Robert.
Was that,
pulled the gun.
Laura, was that locally here? Was that?
No, it was in Charlotte, I think South Carolina.
No, it was South Carolina. Okay.
Yeah. But, let me give you an example of how you have to really be careful. This last week, I was over at the Really Good Pizza, the restaurant, and I was inside around closing, and we have a lot of young people that work there. And right at closing and at opening is two most dangerous time for a restaurant. I mean, people trying to rob it or come in there. And at closing, one of the young, early 20s kids came up to me and stuff and said, "Hey, there's a lady out front. I opened the door and she says that her car just got stolen." And I said, "Her car just got stolen just now?" And she said, "Yeah, here for the parking lot here." And so, she looked like she was wanting to come in, So I walked up there, and when I walked up there and looked at her and stuff and said, what's going on, ma'am? And then she gave me this look of kind of surprise, like, and I walked out and I said, "Have you called the police?" I said, "I understand your car's so I'll call the police for you." And she goes, No, I'm on the police. I'm on the phone with the police right now." And I said, "Well, what kind of car is it?" She goes, and I could tell, it took me about 3 seconds to realize this was BS. She said,
Yeah, I was going to say,
a 1993 Explorer. And I said, "Oh," and I said, "Well, what, tag and everything?" "I just bought it for a penny, and all my information's in it." And I said, "Well, we get the police out here." And she goes, "No," and I went, "Well, I'll tell you what," and then very interesting. I said, "I'll go post it on social media on that." She goes, "No, don't do that." And so, and of course she said, "I'm waiting for the police." I walked back inside, walked back out there, and she was gone, on that.
Yeah.
And so, was she up there, setting it up for, a robbery tip? I don't know. Maybe not. Was she out there doing a drug buy, and one of the person that buying, the one the drug dealer took a car? I don't know on that, but I can tell you there was something not right about it, and it's unfortunately let me tell you something. I don't know. This might be my friends being an interesting fact. The majority of law enforcement officers that are killed in the line of duty are not young police officers or new police officers. They're older, highly experienced veteran officers. And I'll tell you why. Because what happens as years and years go by, older veteran officers become jaded. And they start thinking, well, you know what?
I think the word you're looking for is complacent.
Complacent. Thank you.
Yes.
Complacent. And they go, yeah, this kid's not going to, this 15-year-old, they're not going to hurt me.
Things
On that. And then that's what happens. And let me tell you something. It usually, that's like, you brought up Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a law school student. He was a good-looking guy. He was very polite. He wasn't, Charles Manson looking, but he was a monster. And so a lot of these times, when you see, you gotta think, hey, it's at night here, and this little girl's running up to me going, young woman walks up, and she goes, "Oh, I need to use my phone, my boyfriend's beating me." Well, that might be the case, but you gotta take your own security. You gotta say, "All right, I wait right out there. I'll call the police from inside right here, and I'll have them on the way." Let me in, open up the door. On that, be cautious, because that's where you're going to get in trouble. That's where you're going to get. That's what somebody's going to. We were out. Pat and I were out again. Thank goodness nothing happened. About a month or two ago, Pat. We were out by PetSmart, by Target. Out there.
Yes.
We were actually going to PetSmart to get our dog's fingernails clipped. Not fingernails. Yeah, his claws clipped on that. Which that's a whole other story to tell you about. But we were parked right in the front. Pat and I both had mask on. We have a handicap tag, and we were parked right there in the front. And I mean, broad daylight, probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Dozens of people walking around. And I noticed, Pat is wearing oxygen. So she's got an oxygen too. So she's a target for people like that, because they think she's weak and disabled, and she's not. They'll get their face shot 5 times by her, I guarantee you. On that, that's her own story. But a guy pulled up in a car, and he did what he did. He did the passenger side was rolled down, and he did you can't hear it. And then, so she got a little bit closer. I'm sorry, what did you say? Got a little bit closer, and then all of a sudden I came walking around the corner with my predominantly obvious pistol on my side, and walked around the corner. And I said, "Hey, what you need, partner?" And then he looked at me, and I saw his eyes look down and look at my gun. And then he looked back up, and he said, "Do you happen to have a bottle of water?" And I said, "No." And here he is. He's got gold jewelry on, a gold necklace. He's got an iPhone he's talking to, and he's in an expensive car. And he's asked me if I have a bottle. And I said, "Well, then you go in there and get some water." And he goes, "Okay." And then I saw him, as soon as he got on, he took off. Well, what was it? 2 hours later, we'd heard that this guy got arrested at one of the Walmart parking lots for he had a gun. And he was waiting for people to get up close to the window, and then they would lean into the window just so they could hear him. Then he would pull up a gun and sort of say, just very quietly put your purse and your wallet so he would right in the front seat right here, and then he would speed off. Well, he's in jail, and I hope he's still in jail. But
we'll say, Joe, you screwed it all up. Okay, you handled that totally. You should have got close to the car, and then you would have got some free target practice.
Absolutely. On that. Let's see. Laura says we knew who it was because my idiot husband pulled out $100 bills. The guy behind us put down his stuff and went out the store. Even though the store cameras gone. That's what's amazing too is I don't know if you notice this, Eric, is that more and more, we're seeing it, especially in these home invasions and stuff like that. People, I don't really know if they're just stupid. What scares me a little bit is that if they're stupid, they don't care. Is they go in and they say, they don't even care the camera's there. By the way, I want to dispel something real quick. This is very important. I want to dispel something, a rumor out there that's going around. I said this one time before, but I spoke with representatives from ADT, from ACOM, from Alexander Security, stuff like that. And there were some people that I saw on social media passing around saying, if you have the delayed entry, somebody just can come in and they can just grab your box and pull it off the wall. And then, it won't, the alarm won't box. Well, guess what? It does not matter. As Norman saying, mock snakes. Even if the inside alarm on that panel does not go off, well, as soon as they pull that off and pull it out of there, it goes to the company and they always consider that as they know that it's been destroyed.
Yeah, it sends a signal.
It sends a signal saying that is a good burglary in progress on that. So they don't even waste time calling you or anything like that. They send the police right then there. So don't let them think. Don, I'm sorry. I think it did show up. I think it was up further on there. So Don says there was a 4-year-old, I believe his name was Lee, who was kidnapped. 4-year-old. His kidnapper took him to Kmart, where he was screaming, calling for help. Someone questioned him, and questioned him, and said that the kid was having a tantrum. He sodomized him for days and killed him and stuffed him in a closet. The problem is that we believe everything you hear. You see a kid calling for help, get the store personnel, please, someone can save this child's life. That's right. And, what's the worst thing that can happen? You can say, I'm sorry, excuse me, I thought something. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. And Pat, I bet you'll say this, and you, we're all three of us here are parents, and we're grandparents on that. I am never going to be mad at somebody who is trying to protect my child.
No.
Or my grandchild. If somebody walks me and says, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to ask them, but I saw this kid, and I called the store security and found it is your grandchild, and it's okay. And I would look at them and say, thank you for caring enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, my kids,
Yes.
I have threatened to tie rope to the buggy, tie them to the buggy because they have wandered off before. And I told them, look, I'm not going to have this monkey on my back of worrying if somebody snatched you
Hello,
up.
Charlie.
Or if you've gotten lost in the store or stuff. You're going to stay right here. I'm going to know exactly where you are. You don't talk to anybody. You don't go with anybody else. I don't care what they tell you. And if somebody puts their hands on you, you scream bloody murder. And know that I'm coming, and I'm not going to be real happy about it and stuff. But it goes with anything. If you see, an old lady getting knocked down in the parking lot or something, you're not going to stand there and watch. At least I'm not going to stand there and watch it. If I hear somebody screaming for help, or these people that say, the new policy is if you see a kid locked in the car, you take a picture of the car and you get the temperature, then you call the police. You know what? If I see a kid in the car and they look like they're in distress and they're sweating, and we can't, within a minute or two, we can't find the parents, and you know what? There's a window on that car that's going to get broke.
That's just like,
if you want to charge me with something after the fact, that's fine.
We were brought up, it's just like the gentleman there, the horrific incident that happened in Texas is, when that guy came out of the church, there was a legally armed citizen, a former NRA instructor that had an assault rifle. And he engaged that guy right away. And
actually, he didn't have an assault rifle.
It was an AR-15.
That is a copy of an assault rifle.
Okay. Well, he had a rifle.
He had a semi-automatic magazine-fed rifle, but the only people that have assault rifles are the people that get a tax stamp and the United States military people that carry them on a military base. But we're not going to go into that. But it's just I just like to be correct about that. Most people do not carry an assault rifle because an assault rifle is has fully automatic capability. It's got all the bells and whistles. But yeah, you're exactly correct.
Yeah.
He had a rifle. He engaged that guy and probably
hit him 2 times,
and probably saved lives.
and then another citizen actually got in the car with him and chased this guy down and waited when the guy wrecked out and waited for the police to show the police where he was.
The problem with getting in a car chase is you got to understand, one, you don't have emergency equipment on your vehicle, and you are really taking a lot of liability because if you are chasing somebody, you're not law enforcement, and if you hurt somebody or injure somebody severely or even kill somebody in a car wreck because you wrecked out, you're going to be liable for that.
Actually, that's not correct in the state of Georgia. I don't know what it is now. In the state of Georgia, we have what's called the Good Samaritan law, and that's state to state. In the state of Georgia, if you are acting with good faith, that's what you'd have to prove to a jury. If you're acting with good faith, attempting to save or someone's life or prevent harm to somebody, and you inadvertently cause harm to somebody, but you are acting in good faith.
Yeah, but isn't that like applying first aid or something like that?
Yeah, that's anything.
So you're telling me if I get in my car and I chase somebody at 100 miles an hour and go through an intersection without stopping?
Well, Eric, I'm not telling you anything that what the jury decides. I'm telling you what the law is. I'm telling you
But I kill somebody going through that intersection, that the law is going to protect me from being sued?
Well, again, your terminology there. If you kill somebody, no. If somebody's life is lost while you are attempting to, in good faith in the state of Georgia, we have a law which you can claim as the Good Samaritan law. Whether a jury will convict you of that, that's up to a jury and a district attorney and whether they're going to be indicted. I would venture to say, again, and this is just my personal opinion, it's not a legal opinion, I have no right to give a legal opinion, I'm just giving you my personal opinion, that I think that if you are acting in good faith and you had to go before a jury and you were trying your best to help somebody, to catch somebody that you thought was going to do more damage and hurt somebody, and you injured, that would be up to them. That's always up to a jury. We never know what jury do. I'm simply saying we do have a law in Georgia called the Good Samaritan law.
Okay.
Now that's state to state different. I have no idea what Alabama has. Hello, Wanda.
Where's Wanda?
She's on there.
I don't see Wanda.
I called them. On my kids. Yeah, Don, you know what my mom used to call it? My mom used to call it a switch.
Well, we used to have a little harness that went on our youngest, and it was like a 3-point harness that went around his arms and stuff, and they had a leash that went into the back of it, and it works good. You can rein them in. But when they get to that certain age, between like 6 and 10, 11, they just seem to like sometimes just disappear when you're at Walmart or Costco or whatever, Sam's Club or something, and they just disappear, and either find their way to the candy aisle or the toy section or the video game section or something. But we don't play that. You stay with us. We'll get over to that section of the store eventually. Because I'm not going to go through having a lost child or kidnapped child, because it's just going to be so much paperwork.
I actually had that happen. I had a 4-year-old that, for some reason, he thought it would be fun to get in the clothes, where they have those round clothes bins where they have the clothes hanging and they're almost to the floor.
Miss Pat, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at that you're trying to hold on to that dog and talk at the same time.
Miss Pat, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second, just so we make sure it is. I'm going to read you what the Georgia Code section is on Good Samaritan law. This is Georgia Code 31:11:8. So everybody knows what this is. This is liability of persons rendering emergency care. Now listen, it's not just emergency care. Liability of physicians on this. And what it says on here, any person, including agents or employees on that, who renders good faith to care to an emergency to a person who's victim of an accident or other emergency shall not be held liable for civil damages as well as any act of omission or to any act or omission of a person or such words they care to such victim, whether they can result in their death. So what I'm sitting there saying is that's saying or an emergency. So I think it would again that would be up to a jury on that.
Yeah.
But that's saying an action or an emergency.
Well,
so
this is just Eric's opinion. I wouldn't put myself that far out there. If you thought you could possibly chase a bank robber that just shot a bunch of people, or an active shooter or something, and you have the skill and ability, you think you could pull it off, but the average person who's not trained, I would not be speeding through Columbus, 100 miles an hour trying to stop somebody, only to find out that they stole a candy bar from Circle K or something.
Oh, and well, I think that's absurd. I'm talking about somebody that just walked out of a church that's got has an assault rifle that just shot a bunch of people. Yeah. There are people lying around dead. I think that would certainly constitute something that would be on that. Yeah. Of course, that's common.
The circumstances, what is it, in their entirety?
Yeah, and of course, we don't ever want, and I'm not advocating, we don't ever advocate anybody taking the law into their hands, or to put other people in danger. But certainly, in matter of fact, in the situation we're talking about in Texas, the person that did that, both of the people, one was they both were former military, and one was an NRA instructor on that, and was trained in this. So, that's the situation. Simply what we're just saying is that, you have to, if I assure you, that you have to do what you think you have to do, and there's always liability on that, and you have to accept that, and when I was a police officer, I thank God, I never had to fire a weapon at anybody. I sure pointed it at more than one person. But if I fired my weapon and I had hit unintentionally a civilian nearby, I would have had to face the consequences of that. But you have to do what you have to do. Eric is making an outstanding point. I'm in no way advocating, going through the street. Matter of fact, Eric will tell you, we even have in Columbus, as is a lot of cities now. A lot of cities have no pursuit policies, and a lot of cities, and we certainly have, I know here in Columbus, that unless, in order for an officer to exceed the speed limit and to go through emergency, through lights and stuff like that, they have to get an okay from the supervisor saying, and they usually will not do that unless there is a danger that if that person is not stopped, that they will continue to do harm to somebody. But like you're right, if they went in and robbed the bookstore with a bunch of books or stole food from the Circle K or something like that, they're not going to do an 80-mile-an-hour chase to downtown Columbus because it's putting people's lives in danger.
Don just asked, was it Don? Let's see. Yeah, Don just asked about the roundabouts and stuff. And
that could help a lot.
Don, I think the thing with the roundabouts is they're hoping like Chevy Chase and European Vacation that they get caught in the roundabouts and they can't get out of it, so they're just driving around for hours.
That's our plan.
I'm not sure.
I think there is a proposal right now to make all Circle K's a roundabout, and the Circle K people would pay for that. It just continuously until you.
I think they've changed their mind since we started talking about it. That Circle K they're going to remain. They're going to keep the name, and they're not going to go to Stop and Rob. Although I thought that was kind of catchy.
I did.
Stop and Rob.
I did.
For the new name for Circle K's.
Well, we're about at our limit here. We're right at our limit here. So before we get nixed by Facebook here on that, we have a good show.
Got to say hi to Aunt Linda.
Hi, Aunt Linda.
Aunt Linda, I'm going to do my best to come see you this Saturday for the family get together.
Sounds like a winner.
Hope everything is good up there in the backwaters.
And I'll have to ask Eric, because I know that next Wednesday is the day for Thanksgiving, but I plan on having a show. You want to play?
Sure.
Yep, sure. So we will be back on Wednesday, which is the day before Thanksgiving, here on the regular Watch, hosted by our network, Media Center. Who is that at the door?
I don't know. There's someone at the door. Should we go see?
Yes, we'll have to go see that. Thank you so much, Miss Pat. If you can take us out.
No, don't take us out. Just turn off the show.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Hey, folks. Have a good one.
Have a good one. God bless.
I think that's Ishmael.
Ishmael!
Do we have a total?
No?
Do you have a what?
Okay. All right. All right. Tell them to wait just a second.